Hello! Hello!
Another one?
Yeah. Hello!
The people that arrive now, there are some seats here in the front. Right now.
Or you can go.
So, welcome to our 10th event, the 3rd of 2017. A big applause. We decided to call this event Work Evolution, so we are going to explore how the work changed in the past few years. And it's actually interesting that we have 3 female speakers. It's not interesting, it's not funny, it's not weird. It's exactly what the 3rd millennium is bringing. And we are trying to put everything and everyone on the same level. And also at Speck&Tech, we try to respect every differences and every nationalities, every beliefs that we have in our community. And we are really welcome to have 3 speakers again tonight. EMANUELA, ERINDA, and Valentina. Big applause.
I'm happy to see that even France sometimes forgot stuff because that's otherwise just me every time. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, our sponsors. Giulio, you can go.
Yeah, as always, we are based in Impact Hub, which is the place you are now. And it's a co-working space, so if you need a desk or generally a place where you need to do work, here's the place to come in Trento, because it's the fanciest, as you can see. And there is a lot of space. Also, they are expanding to new places nearby, like on the other side of the building. So, if you need a place to work, this is the place to be. Then, Becca, which is my company, we do design and development of digital products, and we sponsor Speck&Tech as well, which is the main reason why I started business. Then, today, talking about Becca, we are launching Yodev, which is actually like a message board for developers. So that's the case. You are developing stuff and nothing works. It never happened to me, but I heard sometimes some people it may happen. I don't know if you're okay. So it's an anonymous message board. It's like Yodel if you ever tried it. We thought it was fun, so you can divide it on different languages like C++, Swift, or COBOL, the fanciest the better. And yeah, we're launching it tonight, so you can cover the event on a Yodev, and yeah, it's available just for Android because we forgot to release it, and it was today, and you know, we love Apple, and you need to wait 3 days to release stuff on Apple Store. So yeah, if you have Android or you don't like Android or whatever, and yeah, please download it. It's called Yodev, J-O-D-E-V. Okay. And yeah,
cool. And tomorrow at ET Digital, we are gonna have EMANUELA as well. That she's speaking tonight, and tomorrow she will talk about a different thing. So how to create an environment for startups that are distributed, so spread across the continent, like her startup in a way. And she will be tomorrow at ET Digital in Povo from 12:30 to 1:30. And there's going to be also pizza for free. So if you go on Eventbrite and you register there, there's going to be a pizza waiting for you. So just remember tomorrow at lunch break, come at ET Digital and you will meet a lot of fancy people.
And pizza. And the Manuela.
For example.
Okay, so we're ready. We're ready. Almost. No. Sorry, guys. I usually have the next slide there, but it's a mess tonight.
Okay, we thank again our guys from SpeedRun and OpenMove that last time they sponsored our beers, and they brought so many that we have also for today. So they are our sponsor for our event as well.
Awesome. And then best sponsor ever, as always, Segata, which occupy a lot of space in my body, made from Speck, and they are bringing Speck as always. Yeah.
And yeah, these are some of the photos that what is waiting for you later in the back door room,
which is a good thing. And yeah,
If you want to go on our website, we have everything there, all the slides, all the issues, the different presentations, the speakers, the contacts, the LinkedIn pages or whatever. You can just go there, and we have also the previous issues. Okay.
Yeah, it's a pain to present without the next time. But
Yeah.
probably France knows them by heart, so yeah.
Thank you.
Big applause to France who still remember all the slides.
It's always the same, guys. And like us on Facebook, we are scaling up. We are almost 800 likes on Facebook, so spread the word. We always want to have different people. We see every time new faces, and it's so nice. And we also see good representatives of females tonight, also because we have 3 female speakers. Probably that's the reason.
No, that's because we are hot. Yeah.
And tomorrow, we already have the next issue, the next event of Speck&Tech, that is going to be on the 4th of April. And since we always have people complaining that we do our events on Monday or a Wednesday, we have it on a Tuesday. So try to be here. Also Fabrizio will be here. Thank you, Fabrizio.
Yeah, which is a developer of YoDev, by the way, and is very excited to be on live demo in front of 100 people.
And again, a big applause and a thank you so much to the people that cut the spec back in the over there of the Impact Hub.
You win a pencil chair.
They're not yet in the board of Speck&Tech, but they are here earlier than the other people that actually participate in the board of Speck&Tech. And we also live on Facebook with the people from all over the Europe that are from the women at TAT, and they would like to know more about our female speakers. So I would say the first 2 speakers can get on stage and they will show us something really cool and really doing, right? A big applause to ERINDA Valentina.
Welcome.
So just a few seconds. So we can get started because we have to switch laptops actually, so please be patient. Okay, so I guess we can start. So, good evening everyone, and well, yeah, we are ERINDA and Valentina, and as you can guess by the giant logo up here, we work for Xpeppers. We've been working for Xpeppers for quite a long time now, and tonight we are going to introduce you to test-driven development. So, let's start right away. What is test-driven development? It has something to do with software development. It may have something to do with tests, as the name suggests. So, how many of you tonight have written a test before? Raise your hands. Okay, a few hands. Well, so maybe we should first start from the basics. So that's not the right question to start with, right? Maybe we should first ask ourselves what actually is a test, for those of you who have not written one already. So, what is a test? A test is an assertion about how your code should work. What does it mean? It's basically a program that is making an assumption about how another program works. So, it's made of code, and this works. It's not working anymore. I think the batteries ran out.
It's a test.
Yes.
Okay.
Something happened. Okay, so we were saying a test is a piece of code. So, of course, code means that a test is automated. A test has a binary output. It's either failing or it's passing. It has no in-between states. It begins with a precondition, which is called also the setup phase. This is the phase in which you set up your application and your objects and your classes and whatever so that it's ready for use. Then you just trigger the behavior that you're interested in. Let's take a moment to appreciate this wonderful gif of a cat pressing a button, please. I think it's amazing. So it invokes a unit of work in the system. What's a unit of work? A unit of work may be like a method of your object, a function, whatever it is that you want to test, basically. Then it makes an assertion about the results that the operation has caused. So if your operation is not returning a result, maybe like you have a method with a void return, so you cannot exactly make an assumption about the result, what do you test? You test maybe the side effects that the operation has caused. Those could be, for example, changing the internal state of the object that you are testing. So let's see a test quite more in detail. So this is a really simple example of an automated test in Java. You can ignore the test annotation up there for now because it belongs to the test framework, so we are gonna just skip that implementation detail for now. The important thing is we have a car object. We want to test this car object. We want to test that our car can accelerate. Okay, so here we can see the three distinct phases. We see that we are setting up the precondition, and that is setting up a fully constructed car object which is ready for use. As I said, it's really simple. Most of the times your logic is going to be a little more complicated than that, but well, then you invoke the desired behavior, which is the accelerate method on the car, and then since the accelerate method does not return anything, as you can see, we are not getting any return value, we are just making an assertion about what the operation has caused. And that is, it has changed the internal state of the object so that the speed is now increased. We are comparing it to the value that we want. So, now that we have gotten that out of the way, it's not working again. Sorry. So now we can go back to our main topic, and that is, what is test-driven development, finally? So, test-driven development is a technique where you basically let tests guide your development workflow. What does that mean? It works in 3 steps. It's easier to just show you. You write your test not after you have written your code, but before you write your code. I know it seems kind of weird, right? Of course, you have not written any code yet, so the test is failing. And maybe it's not even compiling, but that's fine. Because after we write our failing test, we can make it pass. But we have to just write enough code to make it pass, nothing more. And that means it's going to be kind of ugly. It's going to be maybe an hard-coded return value. Everything is allowed in this stage. You just have to make the test green. And then, as the final step, you can refactor your code. What does refactoring mean? Does anybody know what refactoring means? Raise your hands. Okay, a few hands, I'll just explain. Refactoring means when you are changing your code around, you are changing its shape without really changing its observable behavior. So this is the step where you make your code look nice. And the catch here is that you already have a test covering your code, and that test is green. So if you are refactoring your code and you accidentally break it, then you can always rerun the test, and you are sure that you can always go back just a little bit to where the test was green, and that gives you basically a safety net for refactoring, which is kind of nice actually. So after that, you rinse and repeat. You rinse and repeat until you cannot write any more tests that will fail when invoking your behavior. When you cannot think of any more tests that will break, that is when you know that your feature is basically implemented and there is no more work needed after that. So you are just finished. This is a representation of the TDD cycle. You can see all the steps. Ideally, every phase should take you just about a few minutes. and you just iterate again and again and again. And it may get quite a while getting used to it if you've never done it, because as developers we are used to managing our development time very differently. Usually we implement everything at once, and then if there's any time left we make it look good, but it doesn't always happen, so it's not easy to get accustomed to, but it really pays off. But we'll see that later. So probably this is the face you're making right now, because yeah, it sounds quite odd, you know. It may seem like a waste of time, because you are basically writing your code again and again and again, and then you make it break, and then you rewrite it, and it would just be easier to implement everything right once. Well, those are legit concerns, actually, but we are going to address those later, because first we'd like to show you how it's done properly first. So just be patient, and we will address those later. So let's see a practical exercise made with TDD. So this is the exercise. Imagine you are 11 years old. You're in your math class, and suddenly your math teacher decides that she's gonna make math fun, not the quotes on fun, by introducing a little fun game. So she's going to point at every student in the room, and every student is going to say a number sequentially. So we are starting from 1, then 2, then 3, 4, 5. Except that when the number is divisible by 3, then the student, instead of 3, is going to say fizz, for example. That also goes for 6, etc. If the number is divisible by 5, the student has to say buzz instead. If the number is both divisible by 3 and 5, the student has to say fizz buzz. Okay, so these are the requirements. Pretty simple, right? Of course, you are 11 years old, you're afraid to make an embarrassment of yourself, so you want to get the whole list of numbers printed before she starts asking for the students, so you don't make a bad spectacle of yourself. As you can probably imagine, this is called the Fitzbuzz kata. A kata basically is a really simple exercise, just like this one, which takes its name from martial arts. In martial arts, a kata is in fact a series of repetitive movements and is specifically designed to make you practice, just like this kind of exercises. There are a lot of katas, and if you're interested in practicing the TDD steps, we can recommend more of those later. But for now, let's start with this one. So, my colleague is going to help me here.
Applause.
Okay, here we have just a little of boilerplate code. Basically, it's a test class. So, as we have explained earlier, we are just going to write the simplest test that we can think of to trigger this functionality. I'm going to start writing the tests, and my colleague here is going to implement the application behavior. Thank you. Okay, so this is gonna be a little hard actually, because I am going to write on this keyboard while looking at the screen over there, so please be patient with me. Oh, no, okay, I can just do this.
No, you can't.
No, I can't.
Almost.
I can almost do this.
Okay.
Okay.
Rocket
Can you
science.
hold this for me, please?
Thank you.
Okay, so what is the simplest test that we can think of? So we are going to need a class which will contain our application behavior and maybe a method. And what is the simplest input we can give to that method? That is maybe a null input. So I'm going to write a test where I feed a null into my method. So let's begin with null returns empty list of numbers. Okay. I'm going to need a class, so I'm going to create one.
So now what Valentina is doing is just, is just thinking of how she's imagining her class work. So she's thinking of the objects she wants to call and what she wants to give in as an input.
Okay, here I am feeding it a null, as you can see, and that is going to return a result. So I guess that result is going to be a list of strings, which is what the list of numbers actually should be when converted by the students. So here it is. Okay, now I am going to assert that I am getting, oops, sorry, it's actually harder than I imagined typing here like this, and so I'm going to have to import list, here it is, and I am going to assert that the result is an empty list. Here it is. So it has important this thing which I don't need. Just a second. Again, sorry. I shouldn't swear probably while I'm presenting. Okay, here it is.
You can use the
So here is the test. You are probably noticing that it doesn't even compile at first. That's perfectly acceptable when we are using TDD because I haven't even written any production code and I am just looking for an excuse to write the code that I want to write when I start to implement the test. So now I will leave my colleague here to the application code.
Hopefully it will be easy, this one. Okay. So now it's not compiling, so we cannot actually see. Okay. 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 Now I want to implement my method print, and this one. In this case, we are expecting an empty list, so I just say, okay, just return an empty list. Okay, so I did just the minimum I could. Oh, okay, wait, maybe first we should make it fail. No? Oh, maybe. So I just the minimum. I just the minimum. Now I run everything, and we'll see the test passing. Okay. So now is your turn to do the next test case we are expecting.
Okay.
So I'm just like doing the minimum to make the code pass, and she's trying to break it, so I can go to the next test case and implement it.
Okay, so what's the next simple possible test that I can make for this class? Well, actually, that should be an empty list because at first I had null, now I have a list with no numbers to convert. So let's try that. So I'm just going to copy and paste that. Please don't do that at home while you are programming. Okay, so I'm just gonna have to change this input here that I'm feeding to my class. This is an empty list as well. And I am asserting that when I feed it an empty list, well, of course, it returns just an empty list. And it should already pass. Whoa.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to break it.
Okay, let's try something else to make it break.
Okay, so let's write another text. What's the next simplest possible simple test. Well, that's maybe a number that I don't need to convert to either fits, buts, or fits, buts. So let's start with 1. With normal number, return it as string. So copying and pasting again. And here, sorry. And I want to get back a list of one element with the number 1 as a string. This should not pass. Oh. The code is
I should
broken.
get to-
Oh no.
I should get back to work again.
I'm sorry, I feel bad for doing this to you.
Okay, so I go back into my code. Okay, so now I just say, okay, so I have to go into my objects, and from integer I should return them as string. So what I can do is, okay, first of all, let's not call this object, because now we know that it's an integer. Yeah, a list of integers. Okay, and this is our input. Okay, so what I want to do now is just return my input. Well, this is actually just doing like for loop. And what I want to do is this one is two strings, and then connectors. This is magic of Java 8. Okay, so now if I run my test, let's see. Oh, okay, they all pass in the 2 cases, but I forgot the null pointer exception. So, in here, I just do like input, with input is equal null, and then I just return empties. Okay. Now let's see, rerun. Okay, great. So it's
So that was actually pretty interesting because we had broken a previous implementation of our code, which was the null check. It wasn't explicit before, but there was a null check that prevented us from getting a null pointer exception. So now that we had modified the implementation, we have seen the test break, and so we remembered that we have to check for null inputs before we actually do the business logic on our inputs. So, do you want to refactor some of the code, maybe? That we...
no.
Okay, none of this code needs refactoring right now, so we'll just wait for later. We can go back to the red phase. Sorry. So we can actually start testing against our business logic here. The next simplest test I can write is the one for the 3. So with 3, I get feeds, I'm tired of writing long test names, sorry. So, here it is. I want to give it a 3, and then get this instead. So, of course, this breaks because it gets a 3 and it should be getting fixed, so we are implementing it.
Okay, so now let's go here. So what I want to do is every integer is transform it into string, but when it's a divisor of 3, I should return feet. So, like the minimum modification I can do is say, okay, if x is a divisor of 3, then I just return it. Else, I return the string. This one? Yep. Okay. So now let's see. Okay, great. Yeah, I think we don't need to do any refactoring till now, but we will see it later how the code will change.
Okay, next test. You're probably getting the hang of it right now, so with 5, I get blood, of course. And they are red again. Go.
That's why we will be justice.
She hates me right now, I know it.
Okay, so now I have another test case. I should see if it's divided by 3, added here it will be a bit messy. So I can create another function that will just return me back a string, and it will be like something like parse, and it will get another string that will be our number. Okay, so in this case, what we want to do is if our number is equal 0, then we just return false. Okay, else. So in here I return kids. Okay, and else I just return my number of students. And now in here, let's just call this. It will be something like I think you can like use this for the object and local parts. Okay. Okay. So we are missing just one test case, I think.
Yes. Okay, of course there should be one more test case, but let's pretend the Fitzbuzz case does not exist because we are running out of time actually. This is it. And exactly. We're sorry.
Okay. So the Now, probably you're still doing this phase. Why I should go over all this refactoring and why I should go rewriting my code. It would be probably better just to code it, and that's it. And you probably will be right. But consider this: there is always a but. Now, there should be a reason why TDD is so much adopted in so many companies or everywhere. And actually, there are a few reasons. So we have to think first of it actually helps you think first of the edge cases. So in our example, the kata example, we actually write first the null exception, and then we wrote the list, the empty list, and a cat inside your PC, who knows? So we actually didn't forget of this. That probably when you just start writing code, probably you just forget of the edge cases till they come out. And it often leads you to simpler solutions. The fact that you can stop when you can think of any more tests will often make you realize how your algorithm has to work. And you actually think, okay, that was much simpler than what I was thinking in the beginning. And it makes you actually write pretty objects. This because you think of the code, how you want to look it like, and how you want to use it. As Valentina did, she just thought of her class, and then she thought, okay, I want this method to have inside, and I want it to give this input. And then how do you do it inside? I really don't care. So that's for someone else. You have to think object-oriented. So it doesn't show really much in the Fitzbud's example we did, but because that was just a really simple class and all the logic was there. But imagine you have to do a really complex application. So this would, if you don't realize in object-oriented, you will just put all your behaviors and all your concerns inside one single class, or even more. So it helps you just split all the responsibilities in all different objects, and it helps you have a really good design of your code. It's easy to add new features because object-oriented, it favors extensions over modifications. And if in case you actually come back with some bugs, you have tests that back you up. As when I wrote my empty list return, but I forgot of the null pointer, but there were the tests that they actually later told me, oh, see, you broke this one. So it will, probably some of you will say, yeah, I will write my test later, so don't worry. Most of the time it doesn't happen, and even if it happens, actually you will end up doing a lot of refactoring. It's because your code wasn't thought of doing it testable. So you will have to write a lot of objects inside one single test just to make your code testable, and that's really a pain. And the code is self-documented. So what does this mean? You don't actually need any more documentation. So just read away. You just go into your code, you see you see the tests, and you already have a documentation on how you can use that code in the future. And the fact that it always passes, it's really an up-to-date documentation. So to summarize the lab, if you want to start doing TDD, in the beginning you will see yourself, the green line, you will see yourself going a bit slow. But over time this will pay you because you will be all backed up. In the traditional one, you will, over the time that your project will extend, you will have more and more difficulties to write new implementations. So it will happen that maybe you will have to test everything by hand, and maybe your client in the future will come and say, oh, see, you broke this thing, it was working before. So when not to use TDD? If the application has little or no business logic, you are building a prototype, or quality is not important. And when to use TDD? The application has complicated business logic, you don't know how your implementation will look like, correctness is crucial, and the project is going to be long-lived and frequently retouched. So if you want in the future to try it, just do it, and if you need help, just write us. And thank you.
Yeah, big round of applause. Thank you very much. We have now 5 minutes of question time. You will have Franz
Questions?
the microphone. If nobody has questions.
I have a question. Is it better to write it by myself and test it by myself, or by two people like you did? Is it better if I write the code and somebody else tests it and breaks it, or I can do it by myself, it's fine?
Well, actually, it depends on what you're doing, really, because, of course, if you're pair programming, you can also do it like that. Someone writes the test, and the other person just writes the implementation. But I think it really doesn't make much of a difference, because anyway, the point of TDD is that it helps you think of your application code beforehand. And whether you do it or your pair does it, it really doesn't matter. The fact is that it helps keep your design simple. That's it.
Thank you. Questions?
Okay. So my question is, how do you decide when you have too many tests? If you have too many tests, my experience is that it takes an age to run them. So how do you decide how much to test and when to stop?
Well, it never happens that you have too many tests. There's no such thing as too many tests. There could be maybe useless tests, which is a completely different thing. You know that you're not testing the right thing when your tests are too much coupled with the business logic inside your class. When your tests break often, maybe that could be a sign that you have tied them too tightly with how your class works internally. And they are not really testing it from the outside, but maybe you are asserting, maybe you have mocks and you are testing exactly how they're going to be called inside your class. I don't know your use case, but it could be that you have useless tests, but there's no such thing as too many.
I think that in most cases when your tests run too much is because probably you are doing something wrong. Or no, wait, you are probably calling like an integrations test. So you are going like over HTTP and you are integrating. So that, but if you do mock ones, it will be pretty fast.
Final question. No one? Oh, okay.
You are a speaker. I know you.
He's a spy.
I was wondering if when there are a lot of brains and hands on the same project, isn't better if there is a clear idea about what we are going to implement rather than simply put down the code I have in my mind? Because I mean, maybe I can have a clear idea about my piece of code, but also the others have to understand what I wrote. Yeah, so what I mean is basically that if we have a clear idea about the entire project, or more or less, it's simpler for a team to coordinate on the implementation of our project. This is my point of view.
So you mean like splitting your work and you say, okay, you get...
Like if you have many people working on the same project, how can you solve this and try know who's testing what?
Well, actually...
You're live on Facebook, huh?
So actually, you are dividing you are dividing the work. So it's not like once you say, okay, we are integrating together, then one of you or someone in the middle will get half of the works and will try to make it work. But yeah, you will get, you will say like, okay, I will give you this, but I am expecting this one. That probably should say.
Yeah, my question was if this technique also pays off in this situation when there is a big project with a lot of brains and hands that are modifying it.
Actually, we work with a lot of people and with a lot of and like the projects we work on are really huge. Ones I'm recently working, it's really huge, and there are people even not just in Trento, but even like in Milano working on the same project. And I didn't find like let's say a difficulty in working on the same project with a lot of people.
Okay, thank you. Kids, 5 minutes break, and applause again. Okay, stretch your legs, get a beer, and we're back in 5 minutes with Emanuela. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Guys, we are in the break in the meantime, so if you want to win a ticket for the CSS day, take a selfie and tag our page, and you might be one of the winners. Thank you.
Troppi errori, non so come prendere questa cosa.
Sicuramente
qualche modo direi che fa un salto.
Ciao. Okay, back to your places, because we have the second talk.
We are now starting with the second guest, Speck&Tech. Please take your seat.
Don't waste too much time, because the spec is waiting for you.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. We are now arriving to the second floor. Please fasten your seatbelt. The cat is on the table. I would
Okay.
like an hamburger.
Again, just to remind you, if you like what Emanuela will tell you and you would like to discuss about this further or listen to her another time discussing about different topics, she will be in Papa tomorrow, lunch break. You can get your ticket on Eventbrite. And yeah, get it. I mean, Speck&Tech is not needed, but if you get for this stuff, you will have an extra pizza. So it's a good thing. So she will be there in the lunch break, and she will also have mentoring one-to-one in the morning with people from startups. So you might also stay with her in the afternoon, have a chat, discuss a bit, tell her, yeah, no, I like social media marketing, and she will tell you, I'm an expert. So we can leave the work to her.
Yeah, big applause. Welcome.
And thank you, everybody. And now for something completely different. Yes, it's a quote, and the fact that you're smiling makes me think that that's good. So, good audience, and I'm going to tell you something a little bit different, but there's a lot to do and a lot to say about software too. Yes, can you hear me now? Thank you. So, let's go straight into the speech. Well, they almost said everything about me, so there's no need for all of these words. Let's say, just to sum everything up, yes, I love social media, yes, I work in marketing, but the most important thing is that I founded a startup called TalkTV. TalkTV was born 5 years ago. It's basically a social network for sports fans. So what we do is that we let people who love, at this moment, a soccer team or a soccer league talk about their favorite team while watching the games on TV. We integrate our software into into official apps, for example, of Barcelona, Juventus, Real Madrid, and some other partners. And what we let users do is call, send messages, take social selfies as if they were together at the stadium, and also send stadium cheers, everything. What we just did is, you know, wrapping everything into a button and tell the teams you already have amazing ads, and do you want to power up your ads with our social features? Yes, of course we want, okay? That's great, that's why we are here. So we have a very fast growth during these 5 years, as you can see over there. These are more or less our partners, there are something more. But the most interesting thing is not what we do, but how we do it, how we did it up to now. Because all of us are not in the same city. We are 17 people, these are just some of us, and we are spread in 3 continents. So you can start imagining what does it mean when we start thinking 2 time zones and talk together and, you know, talk about stuff, and this is urgent, and so how are we going to discuss it now? How do our developers can do everything in real time? But do they really need that? We have, as I said, 5 different time zones, and you know what this means. But how we can make it work? We just talk once a week all together. It's what we call a company call. So all the units just say, this is what happened this week during the last 7 days. We all communicate through a main platform, which is Slack. I know most of you maybe know what it is. It's just a communication platform. It's a software. And of course we use other integrations inside that, like GitHub and whatever is necessary to, you know, work together even when you work remotely. And we just meet in person 4 times a year, every quarter. We just stay together for 5 to 7 days, sometimes also 3 days. And, you know, we just discuss what happened during the previous month and decide what to do next. So we don't make usual work, but it's just a moment of brainstorming and decision on what's next. And imagine that this is going on since 5 years now. And we love this kind of formula. Our CEO calls it a liquid company, since all of us, as I said, live in different cities. Of course, it's not forbidden to meet if you want to go for a beer, you know, just discuss about something which is urgent, but is not needed, which is interesting. Because this means that this kind of model can be replicated. And we are not actually the first company doing this. We are going to see some examples from other companies, also Italian ones. And, you know, it could sound easy to understand. Okay, these people as a company, it works. And they all live in different cities and different continents, and okay, it's fine for them. But why should I do the same thing? Why should I build my startup thinking to it as a liquid company and not, I don't know, being goal-based in Trento or staying all together here in the Impact Hub? First of all, because I can have access to the best talents in the world. Okay, Trento, maybe most of you are talented developers or businessmen, I don't know what you usually do, but I'm quite sure that most of you are really talented. Imagine that you are creating a company or you already work into one, and of course you want it to succeed, right? Okay, so how can your company succeed with the best people available in the market? How do I find them? If I live in Silicon Valley and I have a lot of money to attract them, okay, maybe like me, but I could be, maybe, actually, able to attract them. It's not that easy, but could be. Okay, but imagine that I live in Trento and I need some developers highly specified into something, and they don't really live here. What do? Do I renounce to work with them? Or do I find a solution to make so that they can work with me and they can make my startup successful? Of course, I try to attract them and find a solution to make them work for me. So, when, for example, we founded Talk TV, our CEO sent a tweet saying, "Are you the best iOS developer in Italy? If so, drop me a line." And one person, well, many persons answered, but one from Marina di Ragusa, so very, very far away from here, answered that yes, here I am, I'm the best iOS developer in Italy. And he's now he's a co-founder of TalkTV, and he's also our lead iOS developer. And he still lives in Marina di Ragusa. He founded me, for example, just Googling second screen and social TV and found my PhD thesis and wrote me an email saying, "Oh, I wrote your PhD thesis, interesting. Do you want to talk about a possible company together? Why not?" And in the same way, through social media, the web, and friends of friends, we founded the rest of the team and still work together. Because especially when you are a software company, it's critical to find the perfect person for the perfect job. And you can't renounce to it just because you don't live here. Second, people are happy. Imagine that you don't need to commute. I live in Rome. It's a nightmare. I worked in an office for 17 months. It was the worst period of my life. There was traffic, strikes, and people were stressed, and I was stressed, of course. And then when you are in the office, there is noise. You are always interrupted every 5 minutes. People is talking, people is listening to music, people is asking you for something urgent that can wait, and then they go for the coffee, and then it's a continuous interaction. You can't work, you are stressed, you waste a lot of time going to work, you are not happy. You don't see your family, you don't see your family, your loved ones, you don't have time for do anything except work. And in the long period, this means that you're not happy with your job. You start hating him. You want to change it because you can't find the famous work-life balance because you don't have a life. Everything is just working and working and working. And what happens when people is happy? Happy people works better. Happy people care about what they do. Happy people can lead you to success. And that is, of course, great for startups. And also, no, it's not the main reason, but still an interesting one, you can have a significant cost reduction, which means, of course, a less big impact on environment, of course, less people commuting means less pollution, etc., etc. And it also means that you don't need to pay for an office, for example. Just stay at home, so you don't need to pay for an office. And if you're a startup and you don't have endless money, that's a very important thing. You don't need, for example, to pay for commuting. You don't need to pay for stay out of home. It's a completely change in your life. And of course, it also means that you need to get used to it. Don't think it's easy. There are many cases, for example, in Automatic, the company behind Warpers. They are a liquid company. They have more than 500 people working from all over the world. And they said that when they are recruiting people, they always ask them to make a 2-week test. They say, okay, are you ready to work remotely? Yes, of course I am. I was waiting for my whole life to stay at home in pyjama and work for the whole day from my bed. Okay, whatever, but are you really ready? Yes, I am. Most of them drop out before the end of the 2 weeks, because it means that you need to learn how to manage your time, how to manage your priority, how to not get self-distracted, which is maybe the worst thing, because you say, okay, I will do this later, and later, and later. First I'll check Facebook, just 5 minutes, then of course I'll go for a run, but then I'll be back in 20 minutes, I swear. No, you don't. So in many cases, you just freak out after a short period, so it's not for you. It's not easy, but still it's possible. So, for example, one of the things interesting in remote working is that it's easy to understand what it is, as we said, but it's not that easy to be implemented. And there are also a lot of alibis for not doing that, or for people saying that this is not possible. These are the most classical ones. The first, I can't control people. Especially in Italy, is something that is really something that you often listen to. They say, how do you know that these people is really working for you? You can't control them. You don't see if they are really sitting at their desks doing job. As if sitting at a desk would mean necessarily working. We know that it's not in that way, but we also know that many people still think that. That's why it's so difficult sometimes to adopt this kind of mindset when talking about remote working. But actually, why should you control people? We are not just talking about staying in front of a computer for 12 hours a day. We are talking of the new way of thinking to work. You must think for objectives, not for hours sitting at a desk. Which is your objective in this job? Is to complete this task. Okay, take your time, we decide how much time you need. Okay, I need to track what are you doing, but okay, if you need 5 hours or 8 hours or 12 and you do all in one day or 2 or 3, okay, that's fine, I can see what you're doing. The fact that you are sitting there doesn't mean that you are actually doing that thing. So control people is the most stupid alibi of all of the other that we'll see, and it shows that you have an old mindset. The second one is, I miss the human touch. I feel so lonely. There's no one to talk with. How can I do this? No one to take a coffee with. There's no coffee machine to talk about what happened last night. I feel so sad. I can't see why, actually. I know sometimes it's very fun. We have a lot of fun during the retreats, for example. And we also know that a lot of inside jokes arise during the human interactions. But it doesn't mean that there is no human touch. You have no idea how many messages we exchange on Slack, for example. So, okay, I know it's not like being all together, but this also means that you don't get distracted with everything your colleagues are doing. From, waking up and go to the bathroom, then going back, then listen to the music we were saying before, or, asking you for everything. This also changes the way you interact. When I'm sitting next to you, maybe I say, can I ask you a thing for a minute? And then 2 minutes later, can I ask you another thing? And another one, and another one. If I need to write you, maybe I think twice, so I don't interrupt, for example, your tasks, which sounds strange, but it happens more often in the office than while working remotely. And creativity is the last thing that people who don't really believe in remote working say is something that kills the companies. Because how can you create new ideas when you're not all together in the same room? And can you brainstorm where you're not all here sharing the same space, sharing ideas? But my question is, if you have ever worked in an office, tell me, how many times per week did you spend throwing out new ideas, and especially making that ideas real? Almost nothing. But you spent a lot of time in useless meetings for, nobody knows for what, in many cases. Talking and talking without arriving to anything. That's okay, throwing ideas that you can never realize. And after maybe the first 10 minutes, just throwing out ideas that not even if you had 100 people you could realize. Truth is that when you are focused on your work, when you're able to do your job without interaction, that's where creativity flows. So you do not necessarily need to stay in the same place. The point is, well, in the end, okay, we know which are the advantages, we know which are the alibis, so the classical reasons that people say don't work, but does this really work? Well, of course, in my opinion, yes, this perfectly works. But because of these two reasons, more of all the other things that we said, trust and transparency are the pillars for remote working. The first one, because I need to trust you. We said I can control people is an alibi, that's true. But of course, if you tell me that you are working, and then after 10 days you are still on your task that was supposed to be completed in 1 day, well, or you are encountering some difficulty that you didn't talk about, so I don't know why you didn't share it, or you are not working, plain and simple. So trust is the currency of remote working. But the second one is transparency. How do you know? Imagine I said we are 17 people. How do I know what's happening from the development side to the marketing one to the business, from the business development standpoint? How do I know what is happening in my company? Because, for example, everything we do is tracked and is on Slack. So I just join the channel when they are talking about, I don't know, the development of Android app and can see what they're talking about. Or join the marketing channel and see what is going on. And we also have a company call every week saying what is happening. For example, we have forbidden the creation of not temporary but stable groups of more than 2 people. Why are you talking in private? Is there something that can be shared with the other people? Why? Are there secrets? Why do we need secrets? We don't need secrets in our company, and neither would you. And when one of these 2 pillars is not, is betrayed in some way, well, that's when a company based on remote working falls. Not when all the other things are not fine, but when one of these 2 things is not is betrayed, as I said. And there are a lot of examples out there. For example, these companies are fully remote, and you can imagine the complexity of creating Automatic or Trello or GitHub, for example. They are all working remotely from their countries. There are also hybrid solutions. These are all Italian examples. Funambulu was the former company of our CEO, and for example was one of the first having the headquarters in Silicon Valley and the research and development in Italy, in Pavia. Same could be said for all the other company lists there. The Espresso was recently bought by Hootsuite, and their team is literally spread all over Silicon Valley and Italy. And for example, there are companies like Lombard Street.io, which are remote companies working to make so that aspiring startups can go remote, and so helping them to build bridges to Silicon Valley and other places. I mean, it's something that is possible. We have proofs of this, so we know that this can actually be done. And the truth is that you need to find your perfect solution. And that's the interesting thing. There are no solution that fits for everybody in remote working, because it's easy to say, okay, you just need to set up, to find the right people, set up your task using a task management tool, whatever it is, whether if you are in software development or it's just a tool you use for business, or what are the needs of your company. But it's more than that. It's a sort of path of education to share everything with the others, to have no borders, and especially to being able to manage complexity, and also being able to work with people who are different from you, using different languages, living in different countries with different time zones. It's something that you learn literally doing, but it's something that can be done. Imagine the opportunities for people who live in Trento or in Sicily as our developer, or in Rome like me, or from the other side of the world like in China, and can all be working together. So, thank you. And if you have any question, we still have time, I know, because Francesco was there making signs. And don't be scared, it's something that can be done, and I hope you have a lot of questions, and that's why I'm here. So, That's it.
We have like 10 minutes of questions. People.
Thanks. I have a question. If as a fully remote company, you have trouble handling issues like tax residency, social contributions, pension contributions, because I guess each country has their own regulations and maybe they are outdated based on the idea that you live where you work.
I can tell you our experience and the automatic ones because they are the one I know better. So what we did is that for all the people living outside of Italy, they are just collaborators, but most of the team is based in Italy, even if we never meet each other. But we are based in Italy, and we have a local company, and we are all dependent employees of the local company. Automatic uses another kind of methods. There are a lot. There are 500 all over the world. But when they reach a certain number of people working from the same country, then they open a local company, and of course these people become employee of the company. Because of course the problem on the other side is that people say, okay, so this is fine saying that you can access the best talents, but you need to guarantee them the best condition of work that their country needs, for example, and they deserve, of course. So yes, we pay attention to this kind of thing.
Guys, she's not really showing off, but I don't know if you noticed on the graph on the slides before, they have something like 18 million users. Like 18 million.
Yes, 17
They're
million.
really big. Like, if you have any question, just shoot it now, otherwise you can talk to her later. There's people in the back of the room. 18 million.
Almost. 17.6. You know, the marketing knows that.
So, how do you manage your time? For example, when a colleague needs help, but for you it's 9 p.m., so your working time should be over.
Okay, so that's a good point. Do you use Slack? Do you know how it works?
Yes.
You know that you can use mention, for example.
Yes.
So that's there are two things to consider. The first one is from a technological standpoint, you have a tool that allows you to directly mention a person, so he gets or she gets notified about someone is mentioning you. But the most important thing is the respect. If it's something, well, we almost know the behaviors of all of us, because after a lot of time you get used to understand how your colleagues behave, etc. So if it's something really, really urgent, a bug, something is not working, there's something that must be fixed now, well, then I mention you. If it's not so urgent, well, maybe it's not that good to bother someone. I know it's something that is being based on respect means that you need to understand the people you have in front of you. But it's something that we never write white on black and white, but it's something that we have always done. And when it's like this, when you see respect and you see that your colleague needs you for our company, you don't even think twice and say, okay, I'm here, let's do this together. We love each other a lot.
Julia.
Giulio, oh. I'm scared.
No, it's easy, I guess. So you told us that usually, yeah, surprise, I'm here. Usually when the creative part of the work, of the job, is not developed in the office, which is true. And there are several studies which says that brainstorming basically sucks, doesn't work. But still, I really like when confronting with other people live. So my question, it's easy. Do you usually have the creative part, let's say, remotely? Or when you meet each other the 4 times per year, you told us, you usually do that kind of work?
Mostly during the retreats. The best ideas in these 5 years came out from the retreats. But yes, sometimes also in our on Slack writing or in our company calls, it happened also that some idea popped up.
Yeah, and have you seen like difference in quality between individual work and collective work during the retreats? Is that something tangible or?
Well, the point is that during retreats we don't usually do daily work. So it's a moment in which we say, okay, we have a lot to develop, a lot to talk about, but now let's think about what is happening. So there are two different moments, that's the truth. So.
Thank you.
Lots of questions.
Is there an upper bound limit about the number or the size of the team that before it could maybe explode about the manage of all the work that has to be done?
That's a good point, because sometimes, if we are many are us, like 50 people, it becomes really different if all of us is talking. So what we do, for example, is that we meet all together 4 times a year. But for example, developers meet every 45, 50 days, just all of them to talk about their stuff. Or during the retreat, sometimes the groups, just for a limited period of time, just divide and say, okay, business with business, developers with developers, etc. I can imagine that when we will grow big, maybe it will make sense that, for example, you will have the developer group divided into iOS, Android, etc. So yes, at some point you need to just divide them and limit the number of altogether sessions. Let's call it that way.
My question is kind of simple. Thinking about, for example, Italy, which a normal, check is like 1,000 and something, whereas for a developer. And in Netherlands, for example, it's like 2,000, the cost of the living. Is it for a remote company easy to decide how much you should pay someone? Like, for example, if I am a developer here, I would probably earn less than a developer in Netherlands. But how does it work? That's my question.
Well, the idea is that, first of all, you need to be paid exactly like all the other people are paid in your country. And that's, of course, the most basic thing. But there's another thing, which is the most important one. Of course, the company is just one. So if you're working from Netherlands and I'm from Italy, you have the same right to be paid the same. So that's something that, talking about that transparency and trust that we were discussing before, of course, must be managed. Or you can start creating some, kind of critical situations inside the company. Okay, maybe I will never tell you how much I gain, and you will never tell me, but what if I found out? Not that, exactly that. Transparent, but especially is not that fair, actually. So it makes sense that everybody must be paid as the other ones. But I know that something that must be taken into account when creating the company.
My question is, do you go for the upper bound? So let's suppose Netherlands quote, or the less bound, which is Italy, because in one way you pay one of the two guys a lot more than it's the normal rate, and in the other way the other guy is probably not able to live a decent life. That's a good question.
I know, and that's why I guess the most important and the first question that you need to do when you are thinking to recruit someone to work remotely is how much do you really need? Because I know that could be a risky question and also a tricky one, but you need to guarantee that person at least the minimum they need to live. Because of course, if you live in Trento, you don't need the same money as if you live in London. So I need to know honestly from you how much do you need, especially because I know how much you really need usually. So I think you will be enough honest to tell me the truth. I hope so.
Can you raise your hands? How many questions left? One. Nice. Okay, so I have one. I'm now working in different projects in different time zones. how the fuck you find the time to have a call? Like, because they say, okay, at 8 in the morning, we can do it at 8 in the morning, but for me it would be like 2 in the night. Or at lunch break, but for me it would be
Majority
10 in
wins.
the huh?
Majority wins. If
Okay.
most of your team, I know, but if most of your team is, I don't know, based into 2 or 3 near 10 zones, I'm sorry for the ones working from Asia, but they will need to adapt. We do that. We have one of the...
So you have people waking up in the middle of the night?
Yes, at 1 a.m. because they live in China. And what can we do? It's easier, I know, but it's easier than asking to 10 other people waking up in the middle of the night and, you know, tell us something during the company call.
Final question.
That's fun. No, it's not the final one. There's another one later.
Okay. If I understood correctly, you said that the working hours can be like self-managed by the employee. Like he can say, now I go for a walk and I continue later. But how do you track the working hours for the paycheck? Do you say like, okay, you have to work 6 hours a day, or is all based on trust or?
Exactly. The second one you said. First of all, you reason for objectives. So, which is your objective, which are your tasks, what do you need to do? And when, for example, we plan what to do and in how many hours and what to do in this iteration in a 2 weeks period, it's easier when you develop software. But by the way, we know how much time do you need. So, we know that you are supposed, of course, if you don't find difficulties or bugs, etc., that you are supposed to complete this being in this period of time. Then, if you work 12 hours today and tomorrow you just work 6, it's on your own. But you can see if people is really working. So it's up on you. What happens is that when you are talking in abstract about remote working, one starts thinking, wow, I'll go for a walk, I'll go swimming, I'll go and doing that, etc. Then after the first few weeks, you have your kind of path which is always the same every day, more or less. So you find your own pace and you just stick to it. And that's the difficult thing I was mentioning about for people who never did that. And they say, yes, of course I can do that, and they drop out before the end of the trial period, because it's really, really difficult. So the first thing you learn is managing your own time. That's the most difficult task.
Final question.
Yes.
So you talked a lot about advantages of a liquid company, and the idea of a liquid company sounds really appealing to me. But in your experience and by your point of view, what's the biggest disadvantage of a liquid company, maybe that you've encountered in your experience?
Not hiring the right people. Because when I write to you and I tell you, of course I'm the best person for this job, and you see my track record, which is actually good, you say, oh, okay, that's fine. But will I fit into your, for example, startup culture? I will find out during a retreat, for example. Will I really be that good? Because there are people with a successful track record, but then you talk to the colleagues and you discover that they are really bad people, and sometimes you can't verify these kind of things, even though we know everything is on social media and is public and whatever, and we also...
But isn't that the problem for everything, for every
Yes.
company?
I know, but when you are in the office, maybe you will find out almost immediately, while when you work remotely, since I don't meet you every day, maybe it will take a few time to discover that. And that's where your colleague, your employees can be very helpful. Because, for example, most of the team of TalkTV is write to us because they are friends of friends and people who already work together or in some projects, so they know each other, so, except for some exceptions like me or other developers that were completely unknown to the rest of the team in person. But I guess that's the worst thing. And it's, again, a topic, an issue of trust. I trust the wrong people. But up to now, never happened in TalkTV, and I hope it will never do. But I know that sometimes, shit happens. And that was a perfect final.
10:30, final applause for Emanuela.
you very much. Very interesting theme, as I saw with the questions. If you have more questions, she will be here for some time.
And she will also be tomorrow in Bobo.
And tomorrow in Bobo with pizza, I guess. Did I say it right? Yeah. So, thank you very much again for being here tonight. We will go... One thing. Then we can go and eat Speck for you. As someone of you have seen, we are giving away one free ticket of CSS Day in Faenza. How can you participate? It's very easy. You take a selfie and you put the hashtag Speck&Tech and you put it on public. Otherwise, I can't see it, and I love looking at selfies. That's why I have social networks. And yeah, since the only selfie right now is mine, I am winning, which is awesome. So please don't post anything. No, please. So it's for free, and if you're interested, all the dates and stuff, I guess it's the 17th, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, if you write CSS Day on Google, it's the very first.
And anyway, we are now media partners with GRUSP.
Yeah.
So it also means that if you see a nice conference around, you can also shoot them an email saying, hey guys, we are part of Speck&Tech in Trento, maybe you can talk with the guys, and we can go by them and tell them, okay guys, we make some advertisement for you and you can give us a free ticket. So if you're interested to any conference, just shoot us a message and we can get in touch with the guys.
Yeah, actually, it's a little bit more complex than that, but that's... No, it's really like Franz said, but we have a problem with communication. We don't have Slack too much in the last days. Sorry, Franz. No, we have one free ticket for every GRUSP conf that we will give away on our events from now on. Woo! Woo! Okay. Yeah, you look very grateful. I'm doing this for you. Yeah, you for boys. And we have 10% off every ticket for GRUSP conferences. So if you don't win the ticket, you can still have cheaper tickets because you are part of Speck&Tech. Also,
Success?
Yeah, success.
Cheers.
Cheers. Last thing, as usual, some of you has a PhD, master thesis, or whatever, please put chairs one upon the other, and then we will put outside the spec. Otherwise, if you don't put the chairs, we won't put the spec, and then there will be war. We don't want war. So please put the chairs outside.
So just please bind your chest and then start moving up there here, okay. And then we come up with the spec and the beers.
We have the music now with the chairs. Okay, party. Yes, thank you everybody. Woo!